My name is Lisa Diven, and I am an athlete. I have been an athlete ever since before I can remember. It is a part of who I am at my core. It is a part of what makes me me. It permeates in everything I do. Those of you that attended the in-person summit can see that coming through in the trivia contest. My competitiveness is unmatched. When I was a kid, I played every sport that you can imagine. My parents ran me around to every practice, to every tournament. If there was something you could compete in, I wanted to try it. And if I wasn't at practice, I was out in the street or the backyard playing something else. And as I got older, things got more expensive. And I remember one summer I went to my dad because I had an expensive volleyball camp I wanted to go to. And my 15-year-old self had my sales pitch ready. I said, "But Dad, it's an investment." And 15-year-old Lisa thought she was being clever because that investment I was talking about was a college volleyball scholarship, which in fact I got. But it turns out that that investment was actually paid back in much, much bigger ways than in a college volleyball scholarship. The payback was really in all those lessons I learned, the life skills, the intangibles that I have because I was an athlete. I'm a leader. I'm very confident. I'm competitive. I'm mentally tough. I'm a great teammate. I'm hardworking. All of these things because I'm an athlete. Now, when I was playing volleyball at University of Missouri, I was also getting a mechanical engineering degree. I was one of 4 women who graduated in a class of over 50 people. And as I moved on into my professional career, I often found myself as the only woman in the room, or oftentimes the only woman on the construction site. And I never noticed. And I attribute that to the confidence that I gained on the field or on the court. Now, you could say that the attributes I just described would really apply whether you are a boy or a girl, or would apply to any gender participating in sports. But there's research that shows there are specific benefits to girls. I don't know if any of you are old enough to remember this amazing campaign by Nike in the 90s that said, "If you let me play." And it talked about the things, the benefits that were specific to girls who play sports. And that research still holds true today. Girls that play sports are 60% less likely to get breast cancer. Girls who play sports are less likely to stay in an abusive relationship. They're less likely to be involved in an unintended pregnancy. They get better grades. They have higher confidence levels. They're more likely to graduate high school. And then as those girls grow up, these great things translate into their careers. Ernst & Young recently did a research study where they surveyed women in C-suite positions and found that 94% of women in the C-suite played sports at some point in their life. And over 50% of those women played at the college or the university level. And it is these attributes that they learned as athletes, the confidence, the focus, the passion, that also make them great leaders in the corporate world. So all this research shows these benefits for women and girls to play sports. So why is it that girls are still participating in sports at a far lower rate than boys? And why are there so many, over 1 million more opportunities for boys to participate in sports than there are for girls? I thought we were supposed to fix this. Over 50 years ago, the federal government passed Title IX. I don't know how many of you are familiar with Title IX, but it said that any federally funded institution that offered educational institution that offered opportunities such as sports had to offer equal opportunities for girls and for boys. And don't get me wrong, this piece of legislation made a huge impact. If you look at the number of girls that participated in sports before 1972 and the number of girls that are participating in sports today, there's been a huge improvement. Literally millions of opportunities have been provided to girls to participate in sports from Title IX. But there is still a very big gap in the number of girls participating compared to the number of boys. In fact, more recent research would say that in the last 10 to 15 years, this gap has actually widened. And if you look at the college level, there are still a lot of places where we're missing. Colleges have to report their Title IX compliance to the NCAA or the NAIA, and yet we are still not investing as much in women's sports at the college level. But forget these statistics for a minute. I can tell you from my own personal experiences that female student athletes' experience is not the same as men. It is not equal. When I was at the University of Missouri, I had an amazing opportunity and an amazing experience, and I was part of a huge turnaround for our program. We were the first Missouri volleyball team to make the NCAA tournament. And when we came back, I could not wait to hang that banner in our gym. If you've ever been to a gym, you know, those tournament banners are everything. But we were told when we got back, we wouldn't hang our banner in our gym because it was the men's basketball gym. I want to share with you one of my favorite memories as a kid was my dad used to take me to Kauffman Stadium to watch the Kansas City Royals play. And when I was about 6 years old, I had an epiphany. I looked around in the field and then I turned and I looked to my dad and I said, Dad, where are all the girls? My 6-year-old brain did not understand why there were not women on the team. So I decided right then and there I would be the first Major League Baseball player to be a woman. And that dream didn't exactly come true, but I do take my daughter to Kauffman Stadium to see the Kansas City Royals play. Unfortunately, she doesn't see any women out on the field, but she does have opportunities to see women play that I didn't. Over the last several decades, many women's professional sports leagues have started and failed. But a little over 20 years ago, the NBA decided it was time. It was time to invest in women's sports. And so the WNBA was born. And they invested in this league, despite the fact that I am sure it wasn't always financially profitable in those first few years. But they stuck with it. And a few weeks ago, over 17,000 people showed up to watch the Las Vegas Aces win the WNBA championship. In Kansas City, we are so lucky we have the Kansas City Current, a professional women's soccer team that exists because people are investing in the sport. I don't know if you recognize him in his teal hard hat instead of a red football helmet, but that's Patrick Mahomes. And he's investing in women's sports in Kansas City. And because of that, we are building the first stadium in the world that is purpose-built for a women's sports team. Now, why does this matter? Why does it matter? It matters because of this 8-year-old girl. I get to live in a time where I can take my daughter to watch professional athletes, professional female athletes, and she has role models to look up to. She gets to grow up in a time where professional athlete isn't a title that is reserved only for men. She gets to go in an environment where these elite athletes are celebrated the way that they should be. So I'm asking you today to invest in women's sports. Now, okay, you probably don't have Patrick Mahomes money, so you're not likely to go buy a team. But you can take your niece to see a professional women's soccer game, or you can encourage your daughter to go out for soccer. Her high school doesn't have a girls' team, we'll help them start one. Or perhaps just encourage her to play with the boys. Because hopefully, as you've heard today, the research supports, my personal experience supports, that if you let her play, she can grow up to be anything and she can be fearless. Thank you.